Hey, what's up, everybody? Andrew from Fantasy 8 here, and it's time to finish off my top 50 starting pitcher rankings for the 2017 season with tier 3 and 4. So let's kick it off. At number 34, we have Matt Harvey. Pitched 92 innings last year with a 4.86 ERA, although he had a much better FIP of 3.47. And the big question is, what are we going to see from Matt Harvey this year? Obviously, coming off an injury, coming off all of that. I think it will probably be similar to what we saw in Adam Wainwright in his first year back after Tommy John surgery. How he wasn't quite himself. I think he needs a year to work things out. That said, he'll still be a good pitcher. He just won't be the Matt Harvey he was before the injury. So number 35, we got Tyone. Now Tyone was a quality start machine last year. He had a 3.38 ERA and 12 of his 18 starts were quality starts, which is 6 innings or more and 3 runs or less. And he had a really low walk rate of 1.5 per 9. Okay, strikeout rate 7.4 per 9. He's just one of those, especially if you're in a quality start league, Tyone would be ideal to pick up. Number 36 is Garrett Richards. 2.34 ERA last year before he got injured. Had a pretty high walk rate, but it was really limited innings. He's also another interesting guy because he had that really solid year and he started off 2016 great before the injury. Now he's coming back. He's gonna have to carry that Angels rotation. So I'm hoping for a bounce back there, but it could be a Harvey situation where he needs a little time to adjust again. Number 37, we got the Shark, Jeff Samardzija. Now, Samardzija didn't have a bad year last year, but I was pretty disappointed with his K rate, which was only 7.39 per 9 innings, and he had a pretty high walk rate. I mean, he's had 3 walks per 9 or higher for the last 3 years, but I like him in San Francisco. He's one of those guys that you can pick up. He solidifies the middle of your rotation. Is just solid. Number 38, we got Jon Gray. Jon Gray, his ERA was pretty misleading last year. It was pretty high at 4.61. But some of them were because of blowout games against the Cardinals and the Marlins. And, he's going to have the blowout games in Coors Field sometimes. But his strikeout rate was super high at 9.9 Ks per 9. And he had 6 games with 10 strikeouts or more. 6 games. I mean, and he had 9 games where he went 7 innings or more with 2 earned runs or less. So, he's not going to be the kind of pitcher where you can trot him out every day, but he's definitely solid, especially at those road starts. Number 39, J.A. Happ, who followed up his continued 2015 turnaround with a really good season in Toronto. I was actually pretty surprised by that. I didn't buy his 2015 or his 2016, but he keeps doing it. So at some point you got to say maybe this is who he is right now. He's going to get wins on that team, and he's going to get a little bit of strikeouts. So that's not what he's known for. But he's just one of those. I don't want to say safe pick because it's J.A. Happ, but he's been solid for a while now. Number 40, Jared Eckhoff. He followed up 2015 with another good season in 2016. The strikeout rate was lower than I expected. It was 7.6 per 9. I wanted it to be a little bit higher than that, but unlike other Phillies pitchers who tired down the stretch, he was pretty consistent in the first and second half. So those are my tier 3 pitchers. So then, of course, the last thing is tier 4, and that's led off by James Paxton. Paxton had a 2.8 FIP, but a 3.79 ERA. He was pretty good. He did give up a lot of hits, 10 hits per 9, but his K rate was 8.7 per 9, so that's pretty decent. And he dropped his walks per 9 from 3.9 in 2015 to only 1.8 in 2016. So even though the ERA doesn't show it, he did take steps forward. I like his stuff long term. Definitely worth drafting. And then at number 42, we've got Trevor Bauer. So Bauer is interesting. He had a 4.26 ERA. Obviously, he's always had those high walks, He did drop it somewhat from 4 per 9 in 2015 to 3.3 in 2016. But he still needs to get it down further, get a little bit more control. Blake Snell was an interesting case last year. He had a decent ERA if you look at it with 3.54, but his whip was pretty ugly at 1.618, and that's mostly because of the 5.2 walks per inning. He just has to find his control, and he's young. It was his first season last year, and I think he will find that control. He was spectacular in the minors, and he's got a good strikeout rate. It was 9.9 Ks per nine, and his home run rate was only .5 home runs per nine. So he's got the stuff. He just needs to get the walks under control. Number 44, Julio Urias, had a pretty decent season with the Dodgers last year. 3.39 ERA, 9.8 Ks per nine. Again, a high walk of 3.6 per nine. The thing with him is, we don't know what the Dodgers' plans are with him. Obviously, it's not complicated with De Leon anymore because De Leon went to Tampa. But, obviously you got to be cautious to the inning limits. He might not be there in playoff time, but he's definitely going to be solid. Then behind him, 45, Jake Odorizzi. Just another one of those Jake Odorizzi years, mid-3 ERAs, decent Ks. He had a 3.69 ERA, 8 Ks per nine, and that's just what Odorizzi does. He's not going to give you flashy numbers, but he does what he does. Number 46, Kevin Gausman. He had a very decent season with the Orioles last year. He had 179.2 innings pitched, had almost a strikeout per inning. His first half, he had a 4.15 ERA, but in the second half, he had a 3.10 ERA. So that's definitely encouraging. He improved in the second half. He wasn't as tired. He didn't tired, which is always a concern with young pitching. So number 47, Felix Hernandez. And, oh, man. I mean, what do you say about him? He had a 3.82 ERA, which for Felix is bad, but you say, okay, it's not that bad. But dig deep into the numbers. His walk rate per nine in 2014 was 1.8, 2015, 2.6, 2016, 3.8. And look further, look at his strikeout rate. His strikeout rate in 2014 was 9.5 per nine, 2015, 8.5 per nine, 2016, 7.2 per nine. So all the numbers are going in the wrong direction for Felix Hernandez. And obviously you can't count out a comeback because he's Felix Hernandez. But those numbers alone are kind of making... I don't want to touch him with a 10-foot pole in drafts right now unless he falls super far. Just because, he's got a lot of innings on that arm. It's kind of a Justin Verlander situation, I think, even though Verlander was better last year. I'm just afraid of King Felix this year. And then, of course, in 48, we got Aaron Nola. In March, April, he had a 3.55 ERA. In May, he put up a 2.31 ERA. And then June, 10.42 ERA. And after June, he wasn't the same pitcher. I don't know if it was an injury or if he was tiring. But, he finished with a 4.78 ERA, when he did go on the DL towards the end of the season. He had a lot of Ks per inning, and he had more than a K per inning. And that was surprising for me because he was known for his control, not his, strikeout rate, but he showed it there. So I think if you chalk it up to just fatigue, there are reasons to be excited for Nola in 2017. And then at number 49, we got Marco Estrada. Second year in a row, he got his ERA under 3.5. He's kind of on the J.A. Happ level of he hasn't earned my trust yet, even though he's been good for a little while now. I just still cautious on him. He plays in Toronto. And then finally, at number 50, Carlos Rodon, 4.04 ERA. What was really encouraging was his walk rate. It was 4.6 per nine in 2015. He got it down to 2.9 per nine. So if he can keep lowering that walk rate, which was one of his big problems, I definitely think he can develop into something. He had a 3.45 ERA in the second half. He had 9.2 Ks per nine. He could develop into something, and I'm going to watch this 2017 season with interest. If you want to meet up with fellow fantasy sports addicts, just go to fantasysportsaddicts.com and join us. Tom and Ryan over at FSA run it, and we're always mock drafting together. They always send out emails or Twitter if we're ever drafting. We love drafting with fellow addicts. So if you want them, check them out. They also have their YouTube site, Fantasy Sports Addicts Anonymous, where a bunch of crazy stuff happens. They make pie bets and hit each other with pies all the time, and it's definitely worth a look. For Fantasy Aid, I'm Andrew, and thanks for watching.